Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is the Narcissistic Resistance, and this resistance video is sponsored by contribution from Anonymous, and here is her story. Hello, Ollie. Since you've been getting a lot of intense stories lately, I thought I would lighten it up with a little holidays of garbage past lore. I'm sure there are a lot of people who can relate to family hurting as being the worst time and not fun at all. We were strong-armed in the submission, so it could be documented for future prosperity, as we would reimagine it as the magical fiction in the still pictures, as opposed to the less fanciful reality of our own memory. Yeah, we tend to, idealize the still shots instead. I never did, because I could look at a photograph and remember exactly what dysfunction was going on in the background. To me, holidays were not a jovial time to look forward to, but just another bitter dogfight. Another high-stress competition where the adults would compare kids, gossip, and force painful small talk ad nauseum. I always hated the prospect of being wrangled into itchy sweaters, stern, frumpy looks, of not being brag-worthy, and snatched by the scruff to be reprimanded for my fidgety, nail-gnawing, neurotic self. Oh, yeah. when I was a kid, it was always, especially going over to my father's side of the family, it was always like, being lectured in the car, how to act for the fucking performance, and then my father saying something that my mother saw as him trying to impress his sister Adrienne, and then that shit, and then they're like, down the fucking parkway and fucking turnpike, let me out of the fucking car, Merry Christmas. So this is Christmas Eve every year. for 16 years, until I got my driver's license at 17 and was able to drive myself there. It always felt like I was expected to be a delightful marionette performing a type of stage show, perfectly coiffed, impeccably attired, and perfectly behaved. The more they yanked the strings, the more I fell apart, to the disappointment and approval of all. Yeah, you're dressed up as a little doll, as a little performing seal. That's why, holidays, most of us don't like them, because there was always just so much added stress. Not only did they fuck you over, usually fuck you over with gifts or whatever, okay, then they'd want you to be this performing seal for them as well. And they used everything as an opportunity to rip you down again. The more they yanked the strings, the more I fell apart, to the disappointment and disapproval of all. Since outward shows of merriment are given such a hard sell, people have to check off the list for validation. Even though it felt like no one wanted to be there around each other, they all wanted concrete evidence for social proof. Right. They all want the illusion of a big happy family, regardless of the fact of when you get together, nobody can fucking stand each other. Especially, now, with Facebook and Instagram, and now it's like instant. Before you needed those still pics, okay? Before you needed those still pics, and it took a while, you had to have them processed, and then, when I was a kid, then the Polaroids came out. So everybody with the, and throwing the fucking things around like a million, and everybody's already showing Polaroids. Everybody's showing Polaroids, or showing even back in the 70s and 80s. And that's boomers doing that, man. That's boomers for you. They need, they need somebody. The boomers have always needed somebody to witness their shit. Always. That's what Polaroid did. Polaroid was like the first Facebook, the first Instagram, because it gave you instant selfie. Instant selfie right there in the 70s and 80s. So when you hear these boomers complaining about Facebook and social media, they started it. They started it. And holidays were a perfect opportunity, okay, a perfect opportunity to self-aggrandize, to take those selfies for instant gratification. They didn't do it for family. They did it so they can brag to other boomers. It's all a competition, and we're all pawns. We're all pawns in this game. So outfits were jerked hastily into place, hair smooth with saliva-licked hand and pinched grimaces passed for grins. Anyway, always seemed a long way to go for a wallet-sized Polaroid no one was interested in looking at anyway. And you've made the Polaroid connection. You made the Polaroid connection. Now everyone smile and say cringe. So really what you're saying here, Anonymous, is all these selfies, all, the cell phones, the instant stuff, this is nothing new. This is nothing new. This was started and sold to who? The boomers. And I think about that. The boomers, this is why I keep telling you they're the most narcissistic, selfish, self-centered, and they're going to turn around and bash you. Bash you for being on social media. Bash this. They were doing it in the 70s and the 80s. And none of them could stand each other. They were just doing it to say they did so they'd have the photo, so they'd have the Polaroid. Or these days, so you have the selfie on Facebook or Instagram or Pinterest or whatever or pick your poison. These social media platforms are nothing new. They're not a radical concept. It was all started with Polaroid. Instant selfie. Now you can't do this. A lot of them tried. And then with the Polaroids, then it went to the video cameras, the handheld video cameras, and people just recording every freaking interaction. Your dad, all these boomers with their why? It's avoidance. It's avoidance. And it's just so they can have record to say they did it. And then they sit there and make you watch it. They make you watch it. They forced it down there, down your throat. Could you imagine if you were forced and there was nothing you could do to look at people's Instagram pages, to look at people's Facebook pages, to look at people's YouTube without choice, like these boomers did with their camcorders and their Polaroids and their photo albums? And then they want to turn around and blame you. All to say, we gave you these big, wonderful events that you stood there for the better part of 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 years straight, hiding behind a video camera, just recording every interaction, just to say you did. Just to say you did. And a lot of times it was done to make sure everybody stayed on their best behavior. I mean, there's just so much. There's so much with this, with this topic when you think about it. So, I mean, societal narcissism started with boomers and Polaroid. The whole Facebook, Instagram, that all starts with the Polaroid camera and the baby boomers. And all of it was as fake as it was then. Those Polaroids and home movies are as fake then as these Facebook photos and Instagram photos and all that shit is today. It's all the same. Don't let these boomers tell you any different. So, I hope that helps. Thank you, Anonymous, for your contribution and your story. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions or advice in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, a narcissist you'd like to expose, you'd like to have a private video made, sponsor a video like this with someone who needs help and can't afford it, or just make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and successful, because this channel survives 100% on contributions from all of you. Without you guys, all this goes away. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with the PayPal and email links in the description box. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been The Narcissistic Resistance. Take care.